Happy hump day, everybody. Welcome back inside the lab, where we're always fired up for all of the fantasy hockey news and takes that you need. What is going on in Philadelphia? We're breaking it down, Ducks and Flyers, swapping top prospects, and we're kicking off a little top 10 list. Top fantasy young guns in the NHL, 10 through 7, Wednesday's bets. Let's get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We are halfway through another week of fantasy hockey dominance. That's why you're tuned and tapped into your source for fantasy hockey news, the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, joined as always by my esteemed co-host, Mr. Steele wrote in. On this side of the microphone, it's your boy, Big Flip Livingstone, and sincerely shout out to all of our everydayers, our supporters, our fans and listeners for making us your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Steele, you know we always got to get the business out of the way early to get into this meat and potatoes. And what's going on between the Ducks and Flyers? It might not jump off the page right away with fantasy value, but I got a couple of takes here in this situation that's opened up an opportunity as well in Anaheim that I think you and I need to touch on very quickly. It's also an intriguing story that's dominated NHL airwaves. Plus, we're kicking off one of our favorite top 10 countdowns that there is, young guns in the NHL that have played 100 games or less. It doesn't matter their age. We're looking at guys that are on the come up, on the rise. Of course, Wednesday's bets, only 3 games, but we got to get this paper. Steele, let's hear your take. Cutter Gauthier apparently never really wanted to play in Philly. This is a very interesting situation. I know you're all over it. Jamie Drysdale, maybe a change of scenery wakes this player up, but it also opens up some opportunity on the blue line for a young player in Mintyukov that I also want to talk about very quickly. Over to you, brother. What do you think about this?
Yeah, there's a lot to address in this situation. You know, you have to talk about the trade itself, but then you got to talk about the shenanigans in the aftermath in the media and media attention that it's getting right now, especially Cutter Gauthier. Anaheim Ducks acquire Cutter Gauthier from the Philadelphia Flyers. In return, they get Jamie Drysdale and a second-round pick. And for me, I think it's a win-win for both teams, especially after the situation going on. But this is something that we don't see very often. Trades of this stature, obviously, we don't really know what these players are going to be yet in the NHL level, but we're talking about a 6th overall pick in 2020 and a 5th overall pick in 2022. This rarely happens for both teams to trade them this quickly in their NHL career. But like I said, I think it's a win-win situation for both squads. The Flyers acquire a right shot puck moving defenseman who can really help them on the blue line throughout his, with this whole development they've got with a few more young guys they have in their roster, but they needed a right shot defenseman, a puck moving defenseman, and they got that in Jamie Drysdale. And then you go the other way to the Anaheim Ducks, and they add and get an elite young forward prospect into their already overflowing pool of young forward talent right now. So it's absolutely incredible. I think the Anaheim Ducks are obviously really bad on the blue line now, losing Jamie Drysdale. Not that he was a huge difference, but it's definitely going to hurt them with what they've got on the blue line right now with their 6th defenseman. And I know you want to talk about Mintyukov. So overall, I think it's a great trade. I do want to talk about the BS stories and the media attention that's swirling around right now, and we'll get to that in a second. I agree with some of it. I disagree on others. But fantasy-wise, again, we don't really know what these players are going to be in their career. Cutter Gauthier hasn't played, and Jamie Drysdale has been injured the last 2 seasons, very significant injuries. So could be very, very good fit for both teams. I think Jamie Drysdale honestly needed a little bit of a new look, even though he's only been with the team for 4 years.
Bunch of different takes that can be made in this situation. Number one for me, Pavel Mintyukov is going to get a really good bump in minutes, I think. And this is a player that's tied for 6th in rookie scoring with 18 points. He's a 10th overall draft pick. He's already played over in North America, playing for Saginaw in the OHL. I think this is going to be a really good opportunity to see what this player is made of, because there's a lot of these situations, Steele, where a good young player, quote unquote, a good prospect, and I'm talking about Mintyukov in this situation, who has started well. Bad, small sample size on a bad team with no pressure. I just want to see now, maybe with an uptick in minutes, more responsibility. We'll really get to see what the fantasy value of a young player in Mintyukov will be. Number 2, Jamie Drysdale. Yeah, a change of scenery might be what this player needed, but you mentioned it with the injuries. Can he stay in the lineup consistently? Because I think that's been a big issue with him a couple of seasons ago. I think it was, what year? Let me pull this up. Was it 2022? 32 points in 81 games. It
Yeah.
didn't jump off the page, but we were starting to see that was only at 19 years old. And the book is still out. But if he can run it back to even, and this is crazy to say, at 21 to how he was looking at 19, he immediately becomes fantasy relevant again and into the realm of where he thought he would be. And lastly, what I might be worried about that happening, John Tortorella can be really hard on young developing players. We know this. It's a polarizing effect. He's either going to love it or it's not going to work out. So let's see how it all shakes out, because I think those are my main takeaways fantasy-wise. Cutter Gauthier being in the mix with a good young Anaheim Ducks squad. I don't know if he's going to get a real look this year. I would lean to it not happening maybe at the end of the season. I don't know. He did just come off a good under 20 World Junior Championship, 12 points in 7 games. We know this kid can bring it. Keep your eyes double peeled on him in the keeper dynasty realm, because I tried to go out and add him into my minor eligible slots today. He is not available. Go out there, take a look at Cutter in that keeper dynasty realm. Steele, over to you for your take on this media thing very quickly, and then let's hit this top 10 list.
Yeah, real quick about, just talking about Jamie Drysdale. I wanted to mention this tweet from our boy Michael Amato. Again, fantasy relevant to what we're talking about. Philadelphia is a good landing spot for Drysdale, but keep a couple of things in mind. Yes, he'll likely get a shot on the power play 1 unit, but Philly's power play is dead last, and Drysdale also seems like the type of player that could end up in Tortorella's doghouse with a scratch here and there, just like
there you
said.
go.
So that's something to keep in mind. Maybe that's also a reason why Cutter didn't want to play there, was because John Tortorella's there.
I don't blame him, to be honest.
And I don't blame him for that. But let's get to the matter of the BS right now in the media attention. Obviously, okay, Cutter didn't want to play there. He kind of changed his mind multiple times. You don't want to play here? Okay, you're gone. We'll trade you. I can completely get that from both standpoints. Doesn't want to play here, we'll trade you. Now over to Anaheim. Obviously, you're getting Cutter Gauthier in this deal, a very talented prospect. But I think the trigger for Drysdale being in this deal was, I think Drysdale holding out longer than he needed to for his contract negotiations left a little bit of a sour taste in the management's mouth, as well as, again, the constant injuries that he struggled with the last 2 seasons. He played 8 games last year, and he's played 10 so far this year. So that's something to look at when a young defenseman at this time in his career continues to get injured on very, I don't want to say minuscule plays, because they haven't been as what you think they would be when you look at these injuries that he's gotten, that has kept him out for almost a season long.
Okay.
With that being said, with the media BS, again, I disagree. I agree with some of it. I have so much respect for Daniel Briere and how he handled this situation.
Yeah, me too.
Absolute class act. Just want to quote him real quickly. The reason we didn't say anything about Cutter, it wasn't to hide anything from the fans, but it was to protect this kid. We were hoping he would change his mind again. So he clearly changed his mind. He wanted to play there when he got drafted. He said he wanted to play there, changed his mind that he didn't want to sign there. He didn't want to play there, and they ended up trading him. But absolute class act from Daniel Briere.
I agree.
Compared to a few of these other announcers who bring in Kevin Hayes out of nowhere into this situation.
That was
I don't know what I can't remember what his name was. The
McKenna or something like that.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
He says this has Kevin Hayes fingerprints all over it. Makes absolute no sense. It's complete garbage. Why the heck are you even bringing Kevin? Why would Kevin Hayes even have contact with Cutter Gauthier about this situation? It has nothing to do with it. It's an absolute blatant lie in the media right now about bringing Kevin Hayes in this situation. So I think that's absolute BS. And again, just no respect for this for this announcer who said that.
This is actually kind of getting out of hand currently online. There's
Yeah.
a bunch of things being thrown around, and I'm not even going to go speculate. Go out there and have a look for yourself. But there are some interesting things even coming out currently, Steele, about Cutter Gauthier liking certain videos about Sean Avery bashing the Philadelphia Flyers franchise. This is what happens when you throw the internet a bone. They get ravenous, and it's a dark place on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to keep things very positive on today's episode. We might have to keep it to 10 through 8, Steele, and shave off a number on our list of the top 10 fantasy young guns countdown in the NHL. Wednesday's bets right around the corner, but today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL regular season is over. The postseason is here, and there's no better time to get in the action than on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets, guaranteed. When you place a $5 bet, that's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app, you know, it's super easy to use and super secure. So many different ways to lay a wager. Live same-game parlays, Steele and I's favorite. Find your new bets in the new Explore tab. Make a parlay over in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find your popular parlays, and a whole lot more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Make sure you go to Locked On Sports today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. They're here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus the national shows covering every single league. So make sure you go to subscribe to that channel, subscribe to this one right here, and follow. Leave a 5-star review. We appreciate all that love and support you show us every single day. Top 10 list flip. We haven't done a top 10 in a long time.
True.
Absolutely love these to see how different we are with our list. Sometimes we're on the same page, sometimes we're not. If you don't mind, I'm going to start us off because the first segment of Philadelphia Flyers transitions perfectly into this top 10 right now. At number 10, I did cheat a little bit.
I knew it was coming.
I have two players at number 10. They both come from the Philadelphia Flyers. Tyson Foerster and Bobby Brink, 23rd overall and 34th overall pick. 22 points in 47 games for Foerster, 22 points in 45 games for Bobby Brink. They've been absolutely stellar this year. It's been one of the reasons why Philadelphia has been so successful. And now with Morgan Frost playing a little bit better, he's coming around lately. He's finding his game. That second line with Frost, Brink, and Foerster is really solid for the Philadelphia Flyers because they've got Konechny, Couturier, and Farabee on that top line who are getting it done. So I like these two players. I'll keep it short. I'll throw it over to you. But Tyson Foerster and Bobby Brink are two players to keep an eye on.
I like it. And Steele, honestly, the way I was looking at this list, there could be, the way that we've done 100 or less games makes this interesting. And to me, and this is why I got to throw out mad caveats here just in case my list is a little wonky. You know me, I got to hedge these bets. I honestly think the top 5 are almost like they're making a major impact right now. And the back end of my list, they're on the verge of making major impacts. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that caveat out there because both of the players that you just mentioned, honorable mention right at the top of my list. So I'm feeling good about how close we actually might be. And here we go at number 10, Luke Evangelista. Yeah. And I know this is a peripheral one, probably could have been an honorable mention for you perhaps. But the first reason why I got to give this kid some credit, he's been putting up points over the last 20 or so games on a line with Tommy Novak. He's playing on the third line in Nashville, and he has been producing 19 points in 39 games. Might not jump off the page, but he is only 21 years old. And I think, given his makeup as a playmaker first, I could see this guy being the perfect pass playmaking, distributing winger that you add to your team that takes you over the top when he starts hitting his prime. So far in his career, in 63 career NHL games, Steele, 34 points. He is a descendant of Brendan Shanahan, which adds no tangible value to your fantasy squad. Just had to bring it out there, but he plays a little bit like Johnny Gaudreau. And I know Johnny Gaudreau leaves a lot of holes in his game, and I think there are a lot in Luke Evangelista's as well. But he's young, and he's already rounding those out in his game. And I'm telling you, Steele, Some of the reasons why I threw a couple of these guys on this list is I don't want to miss out when they do that, and they're going to pop off. Luke Evangelista, I'm done explaining, number 10 on my list.
He was an honorable mention. I had about 5 honorable mentions because it was tough to make this list. It was very hard to
Yeah.
get them down into the top 10, but
Yep.
he was an honorable mention. I'll put him at number 11 just for you. He's
Giddy
just
up.
on the outside looking in. At number 9, I have Connor Ingram of the Arizona Coyotes.
Oh, good one.
13-9-0 this season, a .916 save percentage, a career .909 save percentage. He's 20-23 and 8 throughout his career. He's only had 2 full seasons, both with the Arizona Coyotes. And last season, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Very bad Coyotes team, especially on the defensive side of the puck. The blue line was in complete shambles. I hated about almost all of their defensemen, besides maybe 1 or 2. But it was a very bad team, so I can't blame him. But it was also, again, he was the backup goaltender last year. Kirill Marchenko made some huge strides last season. One of the goaltenders I was really looking forward to watching this year hasn't played his best. Connor Ingram comes in, and he's been dominating for the Arizona Coyotes. That's why they've been holding on to one of those wild card spots for the entire season so far. So I like Connor Ingram, what he brings to the table. And like you mentioned, one of those guys that isn't quite there yet, but someone to keep an eye on moving forward, especially heading into next year. Because if you look at what the Arizona Coyotes have done in the blue paint, just looking at a couple of goalies they've had in the past, Antti Ranta, Darcy Kemper, Aiden Hill, Scott Wedgwood, and Kirill Marchenko from last year. So there's a few guys on there that I really like who move on to get really successful in their career. Connor Ingram could be one of them.
And look, this is the kind of list, Steele. It's subjective, but what the main takeaway is, it really doesn't matter where the back end of this lines up.
Yeah.
These guys are going to be worth a look definitely over the next couple of seasons. And if you're in the keeper dynasty realm, because I got to give that plug, there is never a time to not look at some of these young pieces, because I'm telling you what, there's a bunch of other GMs out there in your league digging into the trenches. And if their season is over, they're looking at hitting the waiver wire. They're looking at establishing their team for the upcoming seasons. And if you're not doing that, you might as well wrap up your loot and throw it right in the donation bin, because there will be other guys and gals out there coming to take that paper. That's why you're going to tune in right after the break for Big Time Bets. But before we get there, Steele, I got to show love to a player that's cooled a bit of late. And I understand that at 5'11", it's going to be tough for him to make a mark in the NHL, but I love this player and I don't even care. Jake Neighbours at number 9 deserves some love. 90 games played in the NHL. High motor. Love the energy. He's a puck hound. To me, he's a bit of a poor man's Zach Hyman. Not as much upside, not as much puck takeaway skills, probably because of his size, but he is a poor man's Zach Hyman. 12 goals, 2 assists this year. And actually, speaking of research, don't buy into Steele and I as experts, dig into a bunch of other guys' lists as, second half sleepers, guys on the rise. Jake Neighbours hits a lot of lists, 70 shots on net. A lot of value to his game. He throws his body around. He's not afraid to mix it up at 5'11", which tells me he is going to have a good NHL career. And much like Evangelista getting it done on the third line with not the best players, Jake Neighbours is getting this done at almost 14 or less minutes in ice time per night. So he's also 21 years old. He is a first-round draft pick. All of the things I just mentioned about Keeper Dynasty fit this mold as well. I love Jake Neighbours. He deserves to be on this list in some capacity, or at least close to it, just like Steele and I were saying. But giddy up, I really like Jake Neighbours.
I am so disappointed in myself right now because I had Jake Neighbours at number 10 on this list.
That's why we do it together,
I took him off the list. He's not on there anymore, but
that's
he should
okay.
be. He should be, just like for everything you just mentioned. He's one of those guys that I really like. I really like his game right now, even though he's not jumping off the page number-wise, especially in the offensive zone. He does score quite a bit of goals. But again, I really like Jake Neighbours right now, so I should have kept him on the list. We'll get over to big time bets. I got 2 more players. I'm going to mention this one real quick before we get over to break. Justin Barron comes at number 8 on my list, 25th overall in 2020, 28 points in 82 NHL games. This won't be a defenseman, just kind of like Jake Neighbours. It won't be a player or a defenseman who jumps off the page with his numbers in the offensive zone. I believe he'll hover around 35 to 50 point range throughout his career once he gets closer to his prime. As of right now, he's still closer to the 20-25 range as he still continues to grow, develop his game right along the Montreal Canadiens and some of their younger players as well. 50 blocks, 35 hits, 45 shots on the season. Those are the typical numbers I would expect from this player right now in his career. But Justin Barron has all of it in the making right now to be a really good defenseman for the Montreal Canadiens. So that's one of the players that we've mentioned prior, and I just wanted to bring him back up. But we'll get over to big time bets very, very soon. Flip and I have one player each remaining, but this episode is also brought to you by Jace Medical. I know we gravitate to sports to escape from some of the crazy realities we have going on in our lives at all times. But let's take a minute and talk about preparing for real life emergencies. According to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics like amoxicillin right in the middle of the worst flu season in over a decade. That's absolutely terrifying. I can't imagine a more helpless feeling than if I lost my boy Flip Livingstone or one of my family members got sick while a supply chain issue kept them from life-saving medication they needed. Thankfully, we'll all be okay thanks to Jace Medical. The Jace case is a pack of 5 different antibiotics to treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, including UTIs, respiratory infections, skin infections, among many others. Visit jacemedical.com and complete your physician encounter. It will be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the price. It's never been more important to be prepared than today. Go to jacemedical.com and use code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your first purchase. And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to hit the subscribe, the follow button, and a 5-star review. We're going to get to big time bets very, very quickly. But Flip, last player on our list, number 7. Did you also mention? You mentioned number 8. You had Jake Neighbours, right?
That was my 9. I'm on 8. We're only doing 3 today each, aren't we? Or you want me to do 4?
Let's do all 4. Let's do all 4. We'll get it all quick.
Giddy up. I'll go with my number 8 spot. I got to show some love to at least one of the young players on the Columbus Blue Jackets. And to me, the one that I think is going to explode is Kirill Marchenko. And maybe it's because he has 98 career games under his belt and it's right in there under our 100 threshold. At least someone's sticking to it, Steele. I'm not throwing names out there. But anyway, 34 goals in 98 games warrants paying attention. I know the rest of his game needs to be rounded out, and I understand that at 49th overall, he was drafted there for a reason, probably because of his inability so far to play both ends of the ice. But he's 6'3". He's nearly 200 pounds. I'm going to say he's over 200 pounds now. And his offensive flair, Steele, there's not a lot of guys left in the NHL. I think you and I talked about Trevor Zegras and the NHL's inability to showcase its stars. I'm not ready to throw Marchenko out there as one of the next big young stars, but he's a big, talented winger with upside. And I think, given what's happening in Columbus and their ability to now feed these young stars their minutes, because that's what he's getting right now on the rise as well. I believe, what's he up to this year? Over 16 and a half minutes.
Yeah.
I just think Kirill Marchenko, along with his ability to score goals, is going to round out his game. I'm buying in early. And I think it's not going to be too much longer that this Columbus Blue Jackets team is bad. Adam Fantilli, all of the Russians that we've talked about. Of course, Patrick Laine and Johnny Gaudreau are there too. And those are question marks, but they also have good veterans in Boone Jenner, Zach Werenski. I just like Kirill Marchenko. That's all I got to say about that one. Over to you for your last, and I have a goalie that hits my number 7 spot.
You know what? You're right. We'll save them for next episode. We'll go 7 through 4 and save the top 3 for another episode. So we'll cut this into 3 different episodes for this top 10.
Then let me just round out my point on Marchenko by saying his puck skills are what make me pay attention. And he does some special things with that puck. And that's why I'm going to really put eyes on his scoring ability, because if he's already doing what he's doing on a really bad team, 34 and 98, what's he going to do in a full 82 next year with a team on the quote unquote rise? Kirill Marchenko should be on your quote unquote list.
He's on the list, but he's not
Hey!
at number 8. He's a
Yes,
little bit higher
Steele.
on the list. I'm going to save
Boom.
him for next episode. Let's get over to big time bets where the money is made. Only 3 games on the
Yep.
schedule for Wednesday night. I've got a same game parlay. Flip.
Me
I'm
too.
throwing it over to you. What do you? Ooh, 2 same game
Mhm.
parlays. Does it come from the
Yes, sir.
same game? Is it
It
from the Colorado
does.
Avalanche game?
It
Ooh, okay.
does.
Let's get it
Here,
going.
let's get the graphic up just for those on YouTube so that they can see it. Obviously, Steele and I record early every single night. So the odds out there, the lines, they're fluctuating. But the main takeaway here is I think you can hear it in Steele's voice. 3 games on the board. You got to keep it tight. Montreal into Philly, sketch. Minnesota on the road into Dallas. Minnie really needs a win. Dallas has been up and down. Also sketch. So let's go with the Vegas Golden Knights, who have been struggling, into the Colorado Avalanche, who, say what you will about the Avalanche, I think they've been playing better, Steele. So
Yes.
I'll go very quickly. Avalanche money line. Oh, I messed up. Both of our locks of the night, I believe, are the Avalanche. That should be there on the graphic. Mine is the Avalanche lock of the night because when I pulled up their head-to-head, I think it's pretty close. 4-5-1, actually, Colorado is head-to-head, but I'm just not liking what I'm seeing from this Vegas Golden Knights team, Steele. 2-6 over their last 8 games. They've lost 5 straight on the road, and I'm just not feeling it. Cale Makar has been on one of those Cale Makar-like seasons once again. He's my second pick,
What
Cale
else does he
Makar.
do?
Cale Makar anytime assist, and I think what came down to me for this one, the over-under, because I really wanted to take the under right away. Both of these teams have been seemingly involved in a lot of crooked number games over the last 7 or 8, and that's all I'm going with. I'm loving the same game parlay here. I'm dialing the bet back tonight, Steele, because it's a tough board. Give me the Avs on the money line. Give me the over, and also I'm loving Cale Makar anytime assist. I believe he has 5 assists in his last 3 games.
Well, I'm definitely going to be adding the Cale Makar anytime assist into my same game parlay as well. I also have got the Vegas Golden Knights and the Colorado Avalanche game for a same game parlay. Lock of the night is also the Avalanche on the money line, playing a lot better. I know they got smoked 8-4 against the Florida Panthers, but they've won 3 out of the last 4 games. Vegas is 3-7-0 in their last 10. So they've been playing very poorly. They need Aiden Hill back. They need William Karlsson back. They've been getting it done.
Yeah, they're banged up.
They're banged up right now. And Shea Theodore as well. So we might have to talk about some of these injuries right now.
Hey.
For the future episode. Nonetheless, Avalanche money line is my lock of the night. I'm also going with Mikko Rantanen anytime goal and Nathan MacKinnon anytime assist. McKinnon has 6 assists in his last 4 games. He's just absolutely killing it right now. 5-game point streak. Mikko Rantanen also 5-game point streak. He's got 3 goals in his last 5 games. And the top line is just absolutely killing it against their opponents.
And just a little bit of next tidbit. Vegas has only 2 wins in their last 6 games against Colorado.
Yeah.
And watching that Colorado game against Boston the other night, Steele, yeah, it went to a shootout. Yeah, it went either way. It could have gone either way. That's the kind of win that this Colorado team needed to kind of go on a heater. And then you have all the bad energy on the Vegas side of things. Colorado at home once again. Vegas being bad on the road. If there's anything that you're going to bet here, I would go Avs money line. But I like both of these same game parlays, Steele. Feeling it. Let's get it.
Absolutely getting it for Wednesday night bets. Thank you so much for making it Locked On, making it your first listen every single day. Once again, check out Locked On Sports today. They're here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus the national shows covering every single league. So go to subscribe to that channel, subscribe to this channel as well. And thank you again so much for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Have a great day out there. Good luck with all your bets, and we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
Peace.